Discover the incredible heartwarming stories revealed. 100 lives transformed by mass deportation. The morning sun streamed through the window of Oscar's modest home, painting warm stripes across his worn kitchen table. As he sipped his coffee, the comforting aroma was intertwined with the anxiety that gripped his heart. Each day began heavy with the weight of his family's future. At 42, Oscar was a mechanic known not just for fixing cars but for his craftsmanship with life's difficulties. His family-owned shop, situated on a bustling corner in suburban Chicago, had been a sanctuary, a place filled with hearty laughter, vibrant conversations, and the unmistakable smells of grease and gasoline. But the air now felt like a thick fog, full of whispers about deportation, a threat that hung over his family like the dark clouds of an impending storm. In the community, Oscar was a constant presence, revered as a devoted father of 3 and military veteran. He had sacrificed so much, working late nights and weekends to ensure his children had what they needed: a roof over their heads, food on the table, and a chance at the American dream. But as the talk of mass deportation escalated, a chilling reality crept into his thoughts. His eldest daughter, Maria, a brilliant high school senior with college aspirations, sensed the turmoil weighing upon him. She watched her father's shoulders slouch lower each day, felt his smile fade as he greeted customers. The pressure of their situation wrapped around Maria too, isolating her from friends who couldn't understand the unrelenting fear. She noticed their laughter at school now felt distant. Her thoughts were consumed with how to protect her family's future. One evening, as Oscar tucked her into bed, Maria took a deep breath, the knot in her chest tightening. "Poppy," she whispered, "I'm going to help you." Days turned into a blur of worry until Maria uncovered crucial documents hidden in the family's old filing cabinet, papers that could safeguard her father's immigration status. With a mixture of adrenaline and nerves, she mapped out a plan, but her heart ached at the thought of standing alone. Would her peers betray her trust if they found out? In a moment of heartbreaking clarity, Oscar made a difficult decision. He believed that self-deportation might provide his children a chance at a normal life, free from terror and threats. As he kissed them goodnight one last time, tears filled his eyes, knowing he could soon be separated from the very treasures of his life. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. At a community gathering at their church, Maria stood up, trembling yet determined, her voice breaking through the murmurs. She shared her truth, the burden her family endured, the love they held tightly, and the fears that pressed down upon them. As the congregation heard her, compassion washed over the room, a shared understanding igniting a collective power among neighbors. Oscar felt the warmth of their support wrap around him, the moment heavy with possibilities. Yet, as she spoke, the air was thick with unresolved tension. The question loomed large. Would love and solidarity be enough to confront the harsh realities of their world? Maria's heart pounded with anticipation while her father, though fearful of what was to come, felt a flicker of hope. Together, amidst the crackling tension of uncertainty, they all stood on the cusp of change, waiting for the dawn. As the congregation erupted into applause, Maria felt an electric charge in the room. Hands clapped, voices filled with encouragement, and hearts swelled with empathy. But deep inside, Maria still felt the weight of her fears. Would this show of support lead to real action, or was it just a comforting illusion? She exchanged glances with Oscar, their eyes speaking volumes. Hope flickered brightly, but uncertainty lingered like a shadow. After the service, people approached them, offering kind words and weary smiles. An elderly woman, Mrs. Lopez, wrapped Maria in a warm embrace. "You did well, Mija. Our community stands with you." Oscar's heart swelled with gratitude, but he also felt a nagging doubt. Support was one thing, but he feared it might not be enough to change their reality. As they left the church, the crisp air felt different, a little fresher, a bit more hopeful. Maria clenched the stack of papers tightly against her chest, her lifeline in this turbulent tide. She knew she needed to act quickly. Tomorrow they would organize a town hall meeting, inviting their neighbors to discuss practical steps they could take together. Dreaming big felt like a risk, but sitting idly wasn't an option. At home, Oscar poured himself a glass of water, his heart still racing from the church meeting. "I'm proud of you, Mija," he said. His soft voice filled the small kitchen as he leaned against the counter. "But I want you to remember that this fight isn't just ours. It's for everyone who feels afraid." Maria nodded, her mind swirling with possibilities. She thought of her friends, her schoolmates, all the families who shared their struggle. It was time to turn fear into action. The next day, the town hall meeting felt like a gathering of spirits, pulsating with urgency and hope. Families filled the seats, each face etched with resilience. As Maria took the microphone, she gazed over the crowd, seeing familiar faces, friends, neighbors, even strangers who had joined in. "Today we unite for our future." Her voice rang clear, rising above the silence. No one should live in fear of losing their family. As she spoke of her father's journey, of the sacrifices they made for a brighter future, nods of understanding rippled through the audience. Oscar felt tears prickling his eyes. There was weight in her words, a resonant truth that struck chords deep within everyone present. They were all there sharing the same struggle, weaving their stories together into something greater. Suddenly, a voice rose from the back. "What do we do now?" A young man shouted, his eyes fierce with determination. Maria felt a tide of energy shift in the room. Ideas started flowing like a river. Petitions, outreach programs, meetings with local officials. Each voice added more fuel to a burgeoning fire, and hope transformed into tangible plans. As they organized into smaller groups, Maria felt a rush of adrenaline surge through her. Yet, amidst the excitement, she caught the eye of Oscar, who stood silent, pondering how far they were willing to go. A challenge rested on the horizon. Would this momentum lead them to safety, or were they stepping into a storm? With renewed purpose, plans solidified into a robust action. Oscar took a deep breath, understanding that each day could bring them closer to hope or danger. Yet for the first time he felt part of something bigger than himself, something worth fighting for. But in the back of Maria's mind, a shadow loomed. What would happen if their efforts met resistance? Would love truly conquer all challenges? As the chatter around her filled the room, she knew the outcome was uncertain. But every step forward felt like planting seeds of possibility. Little did they know, the storm was brewing just beyond their horizon, and it was on its way to test the resolve they had just forged in the fires of community and solidarity. Would they be ready for it? The days following the town hall meeting passed in a blur. Every morning, Maria enlisted Oscar to help organize the efforts they discussed. They wound through their neighborhood, door to door, a sense of purpose guiding their steps. With each knock, hope flickered, mingled with anxiety. Would their neighbors join in the fight? One evening, they sat at the kitchen table surrounded by a jumble of papers. Maria sketched out plans while Oscar made phone calls. "We need to raise awareness," Maria said, tapping her pen against the paper. "Social media, flyers, community events." Oscar nodded, but his eyes held a tinge of concern. What if some of them don't want to get involved? What if they're scared? Maria paused, the weight of that possibility crashing over her like a wave. She thought about the fear that had gripped their community for so long. We can't let that stop us. We have to show them it's okay to speak out. Together we can be stronger than fear. Inspired by her conviction, Oscar leaned back in his chair, allowing a small smile to break through. He admired how she turned anxiety into this fiery determination. The following Saturday, they set out to create their first community gathering, a picnic at the park. Maria made colorful flyers, sharing not only their cause but also the promise of food and entertainment. They wanted to weave the threads of their community tighter, even as the threat of separation loomed closer. As the day of the picnic arrived, the park began to fill with families, laughter mingling with the anxious whispers of their shared circumstances. Netflix stars in the making, the children ran around, their joy palpable. The older neighbors gathered in small clusters, eyes flickering to the makeshift podium Maria had set up. When it was time for Maria to speak, she felt the fluttering of nervous butterflies. Yet, as she stood before them, a wave of energy rushed through her. The familiar faces of friends and neighbors anchored her resolve. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady. "Today isn't just a picnic. It's a promise. A promise that we will stand together no matter the challenges ahead." The crowd murmured in agreement. Maria spoke passionately about the necessity of unity, engaging every listener. She shared stories of resilience, of overcoming fear, each tale wrapped tightly in hope. With every sentence, she could feel the crowd growing stronger, their bond deeper. Suddenly, a hitch in the back of her mind, a shadow of doubt. What if those in power saw this gathering as a threat? What if their message of hope was met with retaliation? She brushed the thought aside, choosing to focus on the unity around her. Little did they know, a storm weighed heavy on the horizon, not only from nature. With the gathering's success, Maria could sense trouble shifting in the community's heart. While she sat with her friends, laughter ringing in her ears, a chill crept down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that danger was watching. As night crept in and the stars twinkled above, laughter faded into apprehension. Conversations ranged from hopeful strategies to whispered worries. That sense of unity felt less like a shield and more like a target. Maria turned to Oscar, their eyes locking. He felt it too, the foreboding sense that while they had gained strength, they had also drawn attention. More than ever, they needed to be prepared. "How far are we willing to go?" Oscar asked quietly. Maria knew they had come too far to turn back. But how far could they push without losing everything? As the first drops of rain began to fall from the darkening sky, she looked out over the gathering crowd, first unsure then resolute. They were ready to stand, a daring lighthouse flickering against the swell of impending darkness. But deep down, uncertainty whispered. Was this unity strong enough? Would they withstand the storm that was quickly emerging on their path? The rain began to fall gently at first, thought it didn't take long to shift to a steady patter. Maria felt the first drops splash against her skin, a stark reminder of the storm brewing both in the sky and around them. She could see the tension in Oscar's posture. His body coiled, ready for whatever might come next. "Let us move everyone under the pavilion," Maria called out, raising her voice above the roar of the evening sky. The commotion of flapping tents and shifting bodies echoed as families gathered in clusters, laughter mingling with nervous chatter. Under the pavilion, Maria felt the weight of her resolve tighten. Once everyone was settled, she took a deep breath. The crowd was closer now, their faces illuminated by string lights strung overhead. "I know we're all worried about what's coming," she began, her voice steady despite the thunder rumbling above. "But remember why we're here. We've started something beautiful." She looked around, locking eyes with her neighbors. In the front row, a young mother cradled her baby, her expression one of steadfastness. A group of teenagers stood to the back, glancing at each other, uncertainty masked by bravado. Every face told a story, a reason for holding on tightly to hope. With the rain drumming on the pavilion's roof, Maria continued. "Tonight, let us share not just our fears, but our dreams. Let us remind ourselves of what we have fought for." Oscar chimed in, "Think about what we can achieve together. We are stronger as a community. Every single one of you matters." A wave of encouragement flowed through the crowd. They began to share stories. Friends spoke about elderly neighbors who worked tirelessly to keep the community intact, while children shared aspirations of becoming leaders someday. Laughter broke through the fear. It transformed the rainy spell into a festival of resilience. Yet, in the midst of connection, Maria's heart raced as she thought about the looming threat. Someone out there could be watching, waiting for a misstep. She turned to Oscar, his brow furrowed as if he could sense her turmoil. Do you think it's enough? These stories, this unity? She whispered, anxiety bubbling beneath her composed exterior. It's what we have, and it's a lot, he replied softly. We can't lose faith. This is how we fight back. But as darkness crept deeper, the conversations shifted to wary undertones. Whispers of what could happen if they crossed the wrong line fell like leaves drifting onto the wet ground. Maria sensed a shift in the air. What if their gathering drew those who opposed them? What if they truly were a target? Then, just as Maria's mind began to swirl in uncertainty, a low rumble shattered the atmosphere. From the edge of the park came the distinct sound of sirens, loud, relentless, and closing in fast. Gasps erupted right away. A dozen heads turned toward the sound, fear quickly replacing the community spirit they had built. Everyone, stay calm, Maria shouted, trying to drown out the panic. But inside, her heart hammered. They'd drawn attention just as she had feared. Her mind raced with thoughts of what could come next. Would they come to shut them down? As the red and blue lights began to reflect off the trees, Maria felt an icy grip of dread clench around her. This wasn't just a storm anymore. This was a battle unfolding. And as the sirens sounded closer, she turned to Oscar, her voice trembling. What do we do now? As the first figures emerged from the shadows, she realized that their fight for what was right was only just beginning. The storm wasn't just outside. It was about to make landfall in their lives. Would they be ready to face it? The sirens blared as if they heralded the end of everything they had fought for. Maria's heart pounded against her rib cage, a wild drumbeat that drowned out everything else. She scanned the crowd, seeking reassurance in familiar faces. Alone amidst a sea of uncertainty, she felt the pressure mount. A figure stepped forward, the blue light illuminating a uniformed officer with a serious expression. Everyone, please remain where you are. His voice cut through the tension like a knife, firm but oddly steady. Maria's gut twisted. She knew they hadn't done anything wrong, yet the fear was palpable. Would the officer believe that? Oscar stepped in front of her, shielding her like a brave knight. We're just gathering to celebrate our community. We have every right to be here. His voice was louder now, projecting strength. Maria pulled in a shaky breath, wishing she could share in his bravery. The officer looked around, eyes narrowing as he surveyed their group. You're gathering in violation of the park ordinance after sundown, he stated, as if reading off a script. Murmurs of discontent rippled through the crowd. They were a community, not a disturbance. What's going on? Shouted a young man from the back, trying to break the gloom. We're not causing any trouble. We're celebrating together. He had the fire of youth in his voice, but Maria could hear the tremble beneath it, the same uncertainty that gripped her. The officer hesitated, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. I understand, but I have to do my job. This area is no longer safe for gatherings without permits. Frustration buzzed in the air. Maria could sense the collective anxiety rising like a tide. We're not here to cause issues, Maria finally shouted. She stepped out from behind Oscar, her heart hammering in her chest. Can't you see we're just people trying to connect? To come together? The officer's eyes softened for a moment, and she thought she caught a glimpse of understanding. Could it be? Listen, he replied, lowering his voice slightly as if trying to bridge the divide. I get it, but right now we need to keep everyone safe. Safe from what? Maria challenged, her voice rising against the rain. From our own strength? From each other? Shouldn't we be celebrating the resilience of this community instead? The officer shifted uncomfortably, glancing back at his fellow officers who were silently observing. Hesitation hung in the air. The faces of community members flickered between hope and despair. In that moment, Maria remembered the stories they had shared, the bonds they had created. This was worth fighting for. Let us show them. She blurted out, her pulse quickening. Let us remind them who we are. Everyone, we've faced storms before. Let us share our stories. Show them that we're not going anywhere. The tension in the air cracked like lightning, and slowly, one by one, people began to clap. Laughter erupted, nerves gradually easing as more voices joined in. Tales of resilience spilled forth of neighbors helping one another, of a small-town girl wanting to be a pig farmer, of a baker who put together community meals every week. Each story was a thread weaving them closer. Maria could see the officer's stance beginning to shift. His expression, once stern, softened further as the human spirit around him shone through. But just then, a commotion erupted to the side, catching Maria's eye. A crowd of people, faces twisted in anger, marched toward the pavilion, their shadows stretching long under the light. "What now?" she gasped, dread settling back into the pit of her stomach. As the group advanced, she felt Oscar's grip on her shoulder tighten. "Whatever happens, stand together," he whispered fiercely, rallying the crowd with a determined look. And amid the storm of emotions swirling around them, Maria held her breath, unsure if they would be met with solidarity or opposition. The heart of their fight was crystallizing into something tangible before her eyes. What would it take for their voices to rise above the noise and create lasting change? As the tension snapped like a taut string ready to break, Maria braced herself for what awaited on the other side, wondering if today would mark a turning point in their struggle for unity and dignity. Would they find strength in the very fight that tried to tear them apart? As the crowd of angered faces approached, Maria felt the air grow thick with uncertainty. A man, tall and imposing, led the charge. His voice boomed over the murmurs, a challenging roar. "What's all this noise? You think you can just break the rules because you want to feel good?" Faces turned in shock, some filled with apprehension and others lighting up with defiance. Maria's heart raced as she scanned the crowd, seeking out Oscar. He remained steady, jaw tight, but she could see the worry flickering behind his eyes. Every voice matters, she thought, gripping his arm. We can't let fear take over. With every step the other group took, a ripple of panic coursed through Maria's veins. It felt as if the very foundation of their gathering was being threatened. She had seen the desperation in their eyes when they shared their stories. They were not just a collection of faces. They were a family, woven together by their shared struggles and victories. Oscar stepped forward, positioning himself as the leader of the group. "We're here for each other. We celebrate our community," he shouted, trying to drown out the dissent. The tall man sneered. "You think you can change things by just standing around singing songs? What about the rules? What about safety?" Maria felt a swell of anger. "Safety?" she echoed, emboldened. "What safety are you talking about? Do you even know us? We've fought through more than just these ordinances. We've faced discrimination, loss, and heartache. We are fighting for our lives." The tension escalated as the murmurs transformed into something more substantive, a chorus of voices rising together, echoing her sentiments. "We're not alone," someone shouted. With each passing moment, more people from their group echoed their resolve. Unity, strength, family. Maria's heart soared as the voices built into a wall of sound, pushing back against the encroaching group like a tide rising against the shore. They were not just a crowd anymore. They were a movement reclaiming their power. The officer's eyes darted between the two factions, caught in the crossfire of human emotion. He seemed torn, the job he was assigned to do battling with the pull of community spirit before him. But the tall man was relentless. "You think this helps? You're creating chaos. You need to go home." Just as he finished, Oscar turned to Maria, eyes fierce with determination. "We can't go back now," he said, almost pleading. "Not after this." With a deep breath, Maria steeled herself. "We need to show them the truth," she insisted. "Not just about our right to gather, but who we are as people." They locked eyes, and she could feel their shared determination radiate between them. She turned once more to the crowd, stepping forward to meet the man head-on. "You may think we're chaotic, but we are claiming our space," she declared, standing tall. "We are facing our fears together. And we will not be silenced." Oscar stepped beside her, echoing her strength. "We're not asking for permission. We're declaring our existence. This is our home." Hesitation flickered in the officer's stance as he shifted uncomfortably. Maria could see the ease in his shoulders as he leaned slightly toward their spirit. But the tall man wasn't done. He raised a hand, ready to snuff out their flickering light. "You really think this is going to change anything?" At that moment, a low rumble echoed through the crowd behind them. People were stepping forward, fierce looks on their faces, stories ready to burst. Maria could feel the energy pulse, a collective heartbeat, ready to fight back against oppression. What's happening behind us? She wondered, sensing the shift. What new voices were about to leap into the fray, and would they put everything at risk to drive their point home? With the weight of her community's stories swelling within her, Maria turned to face the brewing storm. What would become of them if they didn't back down now? Would fear become their greatest adversary, or would they find solidarity in their shared struggle? Maria felt her breath catch as she turned to see who was stepping forward. Each familiar face shone with courage, their countenances filled with a fierce determination that pushed back against the looming threat. Among them, she recognized Elena, her best friend, holding a sign that read, "We are here," in bold letters. Elena raised the sign high, and the crowd responded in kind, their voices rising even louder. "Here we stand," she shouted, a passionate fire in her voice. "Together, we confront our fears. Together, we fight for our home." The tall man's expression twisted into confusion. It was as if he couldn't reconcile the strength and unity he suddenly faced. The chaos of their gathering seemed to crystallize into a powerful force, a wave of stories and identities converging with undeniable energy. Maria stepped back, allowing the energy of her friends to envelop her. She could feel the warmth of solidarity wrapping around them, growing stronger with every amplified heartbeat. This wasn't simply a protest anymore. It was a testament to their existence, a parade of their stories and struggles, pounding the pavement with unwavering resolve. Oscar pushed through the crowd to stand closer to Elena. "What we are shouting for matters," he declared. "They can't erase our memories. They can't erase our love." The crowd immediately echoed him, voices merging into a kaleidoscope of hope and strength, drowning out the taunts of the opposing group. The officer, who had once seemed incapable of choosing a side, looked increasingly unsure. His brow furrowed as he watched the transformation happening before him. Maria could see the conflict within him. He had seen enough of the community's humanity to know that they were not merely troublemakers. They were mothers, fathers, children, friends. They were real people who deserved the right to stand and be heard. With that thought, Maria felt an unexpected rush of hope. "This is bigger than us," she whispered to Oscar, her voice filled with a quiet resolve. What if, by standing firm, they could alter perceptions? What if this gathering could ignite change beyond their little corner of the world? Suddenly, a young woman stepped out from the ranks. She had fiery red hair and spoke with a tremble that echoed the vulnerability of her heart. "I come from a family that has faced deportation. But we fought back. We didn't let fear define us." Her voice sparked something in the crowd. More stories began to spill forth. A father described the anguish of being separated from his children. A grandmother spoke of the pain of losing everything she had built, and with each story, the voices grew louder, interlaced with pain but also with unwavering tenacity. "This is who we are," echoed through the crowd. "We are family." The tall man stood frozen, bewildered as the tide continued to swell towards him. Maria watched the light in his eyes flicker. Doubt began to flicker in his strong facade. As her heart swelled with hope, she wondered if this was the moment fate turned. But even as confidence surged, she was aware that the raging storm did not promise victory easily. "What will he do next?" she thought, feeling the moment tense in the air. Would he crush their spirit, or would he stand back and let the truth resonate? As these questions swirled in her mind, a massive rumble of thunder rolled in from the distance. Maria glanced at the sky, dark clouds forming ominously. Would the storm brewing above be matched by what brewed below? What would they do if nature turned against them? Would fear take hold once more, or would they stand strong? As raindrops began to fall, Maria's heart skipped a beat, ready for whatever came next. The first soft patter of rain kissed Maria's cheeks, mingling with the warmth from her friends surrounding her. Laughter and unseen tears filled the air, mixing with thunder's warning. It was as if nature itself was listening, contemplating the profound moment unfolding beneath its dark embrace. Elena lowered her sign slightly, her brow furrowed. "We can't let this stop us," she urged, looking into the eyes of the crowd. "The rain is just a sign of something changing." Oscar nodded, breaking the tension with a chuckle that sparked smiles around. "Yeah. Who doesn't love a little dramatic effect?" A wave of laughter washed through the group, an electric reminder that their spirits were unbroken. But not everyone remained buoyed. The tall man's face was still rigid, contorted in confusion as the rain began to fall heavier. Maria could see him take a step back, caught between duty and the undeniable tide of humanity confronting him. "What are they doing?" he muttered, searching for answers in the crowd's fervor. The raindrops pattered harder now, creating a rhythmic beat that almost mirrored the loud thumping of Maria's heart. They were all drenched yet undeterred, the water glistening against their skin like a badge of bravery. With every drop that fell, Maria felt a palpable energy surge through the assembly, an urgency pulsing in time with their chants of unity. Elena stepped closer to the man, her voice cutting through the shimmers of rain. "You see us. We're more than statistics. We are families, stories, dreams. We are you. Don't let fear decide your action today." That moment hung in the air, suspended with tension. The man's jaw shifted, caught in a struggle between his past affiliations and the palpable solidarity radiating from the crowd. To everyone watching, a flicker of humanity shone in his eyes, the spark of connection rising like dawn from the darkest night. As the rain blurred their surroundings into a watercolor scene, Maria felt a sense of purpose swell within her. "This is our moment," she breathed to herself, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "We have the power to inspire change." The stories continued to flow, each one more heartfelt than the last. A young boy spoke of his dreams to become an astronaut, his tale filled with wonder and determination. A middle-aged woman shared how she had fought for her community, starting initiatives that brought neighbors together. Each narrative built upon the last, an unbreakable link in a chain of resistance. As thunder rumbled again, mingling with the shouts of resilience, Maria turned to Oscar, eyes wide. "What if this is enough?" Oscar smiled, his expression a mixture of hope and urgency. "Could be, but we can't let up. Not now. Not ever." Just then, a crack of lightning illuminated the dark sky, acting like a shot of adrenaline. The crowd gasped, momentarily stunned. But instead of fear, it ignited a fresh wave of determination. Maria raised her fist, echoing when she shouted, "Together, nothing can stop us. The storm may rage, but we are unshakable." A cheer erupted, drowning out the impending storm's roar. Yet in the heart of that celebration lingered a question. Would their strength sway the hearts of those who had power over their lives? And as the winds whirled about them, Maria dared to hope that morning would come, breaking through the clouds. But she knew one thing for sure. They would have to confront more than just the storm raging above. What lay ahead was unknown, yet they stood together, ready to face whatever challenge awaited them. Would they emerge as beacons of change, or would their voices be silenced? The answer awaited them, just beyond the horizon. The rain fell in torrents now, cooling the heat of their fervor, but it also fueled their fire. Maria felt electrified, her heart racing with urgency. Sensing her mounting energy, Oscar nudged her and grinned. "It's like a scene from a movie, right?" "Yeah," she said, but the weight of reality pressed heavily on her lungs. "But it's our story. It's real." As if on cue, another young voice rose from the crowd, a teenager this time, her confidence dazzling even in the rain. "We deserve to be seen. We won't disappear just because you want us to." This noble act of defiance drew cheers, a thunderous response that made the ground beneath them tremble. Maria saw the tall man again, conflict twisting his features as he looked back at the assembled group. She considered rushing over, but a wave of stories swept through like a fresh breeze, and she felt compelled to stay, to be a part of this moment. Each tale shared was a step toward solidarity not just with one another, but with that confused man standing on the edge, whose heart was battling with his mind. Elena's voice broke through, capturing the crowd's focus. To everyone still looking away, hear those words. There are lives at stake. Change isn't easy, but it's necessary. Live through us, with us. Her voice boomed like thunder, filled with conviction. With every voice raised, the tall man took a tiny step forward, uncertainty wavering in his eyes. Maria noted his gaze, flicking to the crowd, as if searching for reassurance. Did he sense the power among them? The flicker of hope? As the stories continued of lost homes and dreams interrupted, of love enduring against all odds, Maria felt tears spill down her cheeks, mingling with the rain. She was overwhelmed, not just with sorrow but with the fierce strength of those who'd spoken. The power of their shared narratives threaded through the crowd, knitting them closer together. "I can't believe this," Oscar exclaimed beside her. "Look at him." He nodded toward the tall man, who now stood rooted, captivated by the lives unfolding before him. Was this the moment? Would he speak? Would he take the leap of faith? A sudden silence enveloped the assembly, a collective breath held as the man finally stepped into view. The rain swirled around him like a shimmering veil. He raised his hand slowly, palm up, an invitation, or was it a plea? Maria's heart thudded. Would he join them? Listen. His voice was gravelly, but the weight behind it commanded respect. "I've been asked to protect the rules, to enforce orders. But—" He hesitated, glancing around at the sea of hopeful faces. "What I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, it's challenging everything I know." The crowd leaned in, tension crackling like static in the air. Maria felt the gravity of his words settle over them, wrapping everyone in a tight embrace of anticipation. "What if we could find a way?" He continued, and Maria felt a flicker of something indescribable, a glimmer of change shimmering under the stormy sky. Elena gasped softly. "What are you saying?" "I don't have the power to change everything today," he replied, finding strength in vulnerability. "But I can start by listening." Cheers erupted, echoing through the rain-soaked streets as hearts united, a wave of belief surging higher. The storm around them faded into a backdrop for the transformation occurring right then and there. Maria looked around at her friends, eyes wide. They had ignited something profound. But what would this new connection mean for the days ahead? Would the man's transformation ripple out into the structural changes their community so needed? As the celebration roared on and thunder rumbled in the distance, Maria's heart raced with questions about what tomorrow might hold. Would they be able to push beyond just words, initiating real change? The dawn of a new day beckoned, but it still lay shrouded in fog. And as the rain began to lighten, a new realization hit her. The real fight was only just beginning. How many barriers could they break together? And would this fragile connection hold when faced with real challenges? The answers loomed ahead, just out of reach, waiting for their next bold step. The rain began to subside, transforming into a gentle drizzle that seemed to wash away their fears as everyone gathered closer. Maria felt nourished by the warmth of shared experiences, the courage of voices joining together. The tall man stood among them, uncertainty mingling with newfound resolve. "Today is just the beginning," he said, his voice steady but soft. "You've shown me that community means more than obeying rules. It's about standing up for each other." Maria's heart soared at his words. They were on the verge of transformation. What they had built together, these stories, this unity, could shift the narrative completely. The crowd erupted into cheers, an anthem of hope sounding in the now light rain, washing away the uncertainty that had once loomed over them like a dark cloud. Oscar stepped up beside Maria, his eyes bright with the spark of determination. "We won T-Stop here. This is our home, and we'll fight every day to create a future where everyone can thrive, no matter who they are." With the officer now on their side, barriers began to dissolve. The tension that just moments ago had felt so suffocating lightened, like a breath of fresh air sweeping through the crowd. One by one, people stepped forward to shake the officer's hand, gratitude filling the space between them. "Thank you," Maria heard one woman say, her voice trembling, "Thank you for listening." Maria felt tears welling up again, this time from a place of pure joy. Their laughter mingled with the sound of raindrops, creating a beautiful symphony, a celebration long overdue. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about thriving together. As the crowd began to disperse, Maria felt a tugging at her heart. She remembered all those quiet nights spent worrying about deportation, the fear that had gripped her family. But now, surrounded by these courageous individuals, she knew they were all part of a movement that would push back against adversity. "Poppy," she whispered, drawing close to Oscar. "We did it together. We've only just begun." "Mija," he replied, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "This fight is bigger than us. It's for every family, every person that feels this fear." Just then, Elena approached, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We should keep meeting, keep sharing our stories. We can turn this momentum into real change." A collective gleam of determination sparked in everyone's eyes. As they brainstormed plans for future gatherings, community projects, outreach programs that could extend well beyond this moment, the energy was electric. With every idea, there was a shared commitment to creating an inclusive future, one step at a time. Weeks passed after that fateful gathering. The community meetings flourished, and what began as a ripple expanded into a wave of compassion and solidarity. Families that once felt isolated found strength in connecting with one another. Maria watched as Oscar transformed, too. No longer burdened with shadows of helplessness, he became a shining beacon, stepping up to lead discussions with local officials, advocating for all those who felt the sting of fear. There was laughter in their home again, warmth that had been absent now radiating in every corner. One afternoon, as spring blossomed, Maria stood at the podium in their town hall, reflecting on their journey. What began as whispers of fear turned into a roaring testament of strength. "We are not statistics. We are human, we are hopeful, and we will not be silent." The applause that followed erupted like fireworks, filling her heart with pride. As she hopped down from the stage, she locked eyes with the tall officer from that pivotal night, now a friend standing amongst the community. His presence felt solid, a symbol of change encompassing them all. In that moment, amongst friends old and new, Maria understood the power of unity, of standing together against struggles, but also the power of speaking out and seeking change. Hope felt tangible now. It blossomed like the flowers of spring all around her. As she embraced each person around her, Maria knew this journey had transformed them all. Together they hadn't just faced a storm. They had weathered it and found a clearer sky. To anyone coming across their story, or hearing it shared again, they would recognize the truth. Change is possible, but it starts with courage, compassion, and the unwavering belief that every voice matters. Their fight would continue, but she knew they would face it together, stronger day by day. And now, to you, the one who has followed this journey with us, those powerful moments matter, and your support is essential. You need to subscribe now to catch all the next transformative stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help inspire others. Comment your thoughts and reactions below. We want to hear from you. And share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this change. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support for the channel and for the incredible communities around you.